Just a moment.
You know what gives me an old school vibe, other than Neon Anything and that one time I saw a VHS tape? Robo's world, the Zarnok fortress. You play as Robo, a guardian trying to save the planet Saphirium from the Zarnok, who have already wiped out life on and extracted all resources from 2 other planets and are on the way to your home world in their mothership/fortress. It doesn't outright destroy the planets, it just slowly sucks the life out of them. Think of it as a more methodical Death Star. Your goal is to infiltrate their fortress, sabotage their critical systems, and destroy it before Saphirium is completely decimated. And unlike many games which say this and then let you take however long you need to get to the end, Robo's world starts a timer when you begin the game, a timer which determines when the Zarnok arrive at Saphirium and start draining its resources. And if you take too long to complete the game, everyone on the planet dies, so you're on a constant time crunch. The game is structured in a Metroidvania-esque fashion, with blocks of the ship divided up into several rooms, some of which can only be accessed either by taking certain paths or by sabotaging certain aspects of the ship, like disabling the laser turrets to reach this area. This can be done by hacking into certain terminals, usually buried in the deepest parts of each section of the ship and guarded by more sophisticated enemies, and either disabling them right away or waiting and doing it remotely from the pause menu later. This creates a tough choice for the player because the moment a terminal goes down, the Zarnok start repairing it. If it gets fixed before you make it to the final area, you'll have to go all the way back and turn it off again. So on top of not dying and working quickly, planning is also a critical element. While you can die as many times as you need to reach the end, every time you die, it costs casualties, and however much time it takes you to get back to where you were because, aside from the doors to each room, there aren't any checkpoints. And rest unassured, you will die many times on a first playthrough, because there are some demanding platforming sections to contend with, as well as the enemy AI system. In short, destroying Zarnok robots raises their AI, making them a bit smarter and more aggressive, though not smart enough to know how to deal with my drive-by tactics. The AI level can be lowered by entering the digital environment, just think of it as cyberspace, and collecting AI chits, which, aside from stopping time while you're in it, it doesn't seem to have any other function than as a mental break from the main portion of the game. And since we're talking about working fast, speedrun tip. There's an option at the beginning of the game to preload every room at once instead of loading each room individually, which cuts out those extra load times every time you change locations. If I had to describe the bulk of the gameplay, I'd call it Nintendo-like, in the positive sense. Nintendo games have a way of taking a game mechanic or two and pushing it to work in as many different ways as possible and forcing you to really master how it works. Robo's world does the same with jumping, dashing, punching, shooting, grenade tossing, and various combinations of everything I just mentioned, like dash punching or air dashing. Yes, air dashing. Looks like my playing all those 2D fighting games paid off. Obstacles like the bricked walls and the timed switches appear to be carefully planned out, and the former encourage everything from dash punching to careful platforming to being crucial puzzle-solving elements to pass various obstacles. My biggest issue with this game is that while the controls are tight and responsive, the layout for the keyboard controls is awkward, including and especially the one marked Steam. I found myself rearranging the key bindings 3 or 4 different times to find something comfortable, and wound up with a scheme where ducking and panning the camera down were on the same key, and grenades were several keys away from everything else because I kept accidentally blowing myself up. That and the ending sequence of the game is pretty... But considering what I went through to get to that part, I'm not going to complain about the final area not being hard enough. Robo's world can be frustrating at times, even on the easier difficulties, but I never felt like the game was being unfair. It's challenging without being outright dickish to the player, and most importantly, I had fun playing it. I think it's fair to call this my second favorite video game with a blue and yellow robot in the starring role. My favorite, obviously, being this. Wait, what the hell are you talking about? Of course he looks like that in the game.
When robots attack. Robot, robot, robot. When robots attack.